Hey guys, Peter here. How you doing? So sorry I've been away for a while. Well, I guess just a week, but I've been taking a week of vacation. I'm excited to be back to do another review of an exciting fragrance. I think this is really, really good from Penhaligon's, and I haven't really explored the house all that much, but the one fragrance that gets hyped a lot, Sartorial, I didn't really love, and then I went for Endymion. This one I have here in the Eau de Cologne version, and I think it's a really, really good fragrance. Very, very unique, not super groundbreaking. There are a couple other fragrances that smell that are kind of in this category and have used some similar chords, but I do think that they do it the best here. And this one, just a very smooth, well-blended fragrance that's light yet has some, depth and some kind of backbone to it, despite being an eau de cologne. So let's get some basics out of the way first. This one, like I said, it's the eau de cologne version. In terms of, so that might be a concern, I think, for some people who care about performance. I would say, yes, it does feel like a cologne, but the kinds of notes that are in here tend like leather and coffee. They and the woodiness here, they give the fragrance some kind of a backbone, like I said before, and so it's sort of I would say it's very light and airy, but and it doesn't project all that much. But as a skin scent, it is long lasting. It sort of is there and lingers. So it's that type of cologne. They do have a concentrate version, which is an eau de parfum, I believe, and apparently I've not smelled it, so I can't tell you, the differences. But apparently that one emphasizes a lot more the leather smell, and is darker and smokier. And I read some comments that it didn't have as much of the coffee note either. So it wasn't really what I was looking for. I think that if you're looking for a leather fragrance, that might be a better option. And also I heard that it doesn't really perform much better than this version too. So I think all things were sort of leaning towards this in terms of my preferences. So anyway, Endymion, I love the concept because this is based on, Greek mythology. So Endymion is referring to a figure in Greek mythology. And there are different versions of the myth and also his kind of family lineage, if you will, depending on the sources that historians rely on. But one popular version says he's a son of Zeus. And legend goes, the goddess of the moon apparently was, totally entranced by how handsome Endymion was, and so she begged Zeus to put this shepherd into eternal sleep so that she could look down on him forever. So something along those lines, basically saying that Endymion was insanely handsome. So this is, you're gonna think this is gonna be a very handsome smelling fragrance, very gentlemanly, scent. And I think a lot of people will say that this falls in the Fougere category. It definitely has a overall soapy fern accord, but I do think that it sort of is in its own category because of the notes of coffee and suede leather. The notes that the company officially lists include geranium, coffee, suede leather, and I think the dominant note to my nose, after smelling it for a while, would have to be the suede leather. But I think a lot of the notes sort of blend together. There are some spices here that give off, overall put together the leather accord, if you will. So, and I think obviously the reason why people think this is kind of a Fougere fragrance is because of the lavender note in here as well, which is very, very obvious. So anyway, I've got a little bit of a dry down here, but let me just spray a little more. What I love about this scent and how it opens is, so it's got this very watery, airy, fresh quality. It's like being hit with a cool breeze. And it has the kind of overall slight powdery and soapiness that I like, but it still manages to smell quite masculine. And pretty quickly, you get a good dose of sweetness coming up. And it's a kind of sweetness that sort of reminds me of pine and evergreen and coniferous kind of greenness. This sort of sharp, clean sweetness, but it's darkened up a little bit. And I think in the notes, probably the note that would interest people the most is a coffee note. The coffee note to me is not an authentic kind of coffee smell. It doesn't really, if I didn't know that, the official listed note was coffee, I might not even think of coffee. It's more of this kind of, to me, a little bit of a slight, chocolatey smell that's a bit dark and has a little bit of bitterness as well. And that mixes in also with very much a woody accord, and it's this kind of woodiness. There's definitely sandalwood here, and then nutmeg. So it's sort of this very smooth, creamy, powdery, woody smell that's quite sweet as well. And this kind of coffee lavender or fantasy coffee note, let's say, and lavender combination is not something that's completely new to me. There are a couple fragrances that do this. So one is popular one, Rocha's Man. This one also I think lists a cappuccino note, but it's a little bit different because it has that raspberry note, but also it's the lavender, right? So it's a similar combination of this ferny, fresh scent combined with something darker, something a little bit more gourmand. Now this Endymion is definitely not gourmand. It heads more into a barbershoppy, soapy direction, but it doesn't have that old school overdose of lavender or other sort of sharpness. It's a very smoothly blended scent, almost. Yeah, it's almost like a kind of a dessert, but it's it's not gourmand. The first time I smelled it, I knew immediately that this was sort of was something that I enjoyed, and also an extremely well balanced and very well thought out, put together scent. Just the combination of notes, it's one of those things where they tune everything right? So it's a little bit fruity. So it's got that slight, tartness, but definitely you wouldn't think of your typical citrus opening. It's more of a opening with lavender and just a coniferous freshness, right? A cutting, almost a cold quality that you get from piney scents. So it has that, which gives it the fougere element, and then the bitterness and the sweetness, and a touch of amber as well. So you get this kind of earthy, sort of myrrh note as well. A slight hot feel, right? That combines with the coldness of this fern accord. So it's a really interesting contrast, I think, of warm and cool and fresh at the same time. And then just the right amount of sweetness. Some of the sweetness coming from the woodiness, some of it coming from this coffee note. And yeah, just this, the overall, the resinous base adds a little bit of a smokiness as well. So definitely not a smoky fragrance. So basically what I'm saying is that it's not a super barbershoppy scent. It's not a super, oriental smoky scent. It's not a gourmand scent. But it reminds you of all those categories. It's basically all those kind of categories, I think, fused together to create this kind of new accord. And I like that about this scent. Woody, piney, slightly sweet, and I don't know, warm and sensual. The interesting thing also is this kind of woody backbone that I described, consisting of what smells like a combination of some sandalwood, some resins, like a myrrh note that gives it a little bit of smokiness, and some nutmeg too. All those sort of individual notes together, I can see how they create a suede leather accord. So there's this overall, as I emphasize, creamy, powdery feel and a darkness at the same time. That's coexisting with the green sort of freshness, the aromatic components. So you've got two different things going on in this fragrance, and that's what I find to be unique and interesting. These coexisting sort of cold elements and the warm elements, and overall the scent being sort of an all-season fragrance for that reason, because in the summer it's fresh enough, and in the winter it's got these the woody character and then the sweetness to work, to really fit in. Although of course the performance is a little bit lackluster, overall it's a scent profile that works well, right? It sort of has a cozy feel because of the creaminess. So yeah, just a well-balanced, great, I think, signature scent. Totally worth a try. Really quickly, about the price. The eau de cologne version goes for $165, I think, retail. But you can find this around $90. And for that price, I think it's well worth it, the 100 ml. The concentrate is a little bit more expensive. I think it goes 180 or so, 85. And then of course a little bit more in the discounters compared to this version. But anyway, I think this is I want to say almost a must-have, and let me compare it a little bit to this one, which Frank number 2, which I spoke highly of. This has got cognac, I believe, and similarly, lavender and coffee, and overall has a similar sort of piney yet sweet and dark leathery smell as well. But I would say I much prefer Endymion because number one, it smells more luxurious and smooth, and just better balance. This one, I don't know. I think I mentioned in the review, the one thing I don't like is, it's a $130 fragrance. It's a good deal, but it doesn't smell all that ultra quality or natural. It does last longer, and also this Frank number 2 emphasizes a little bit more of the darker smell, so it ends up coming across more dirty smelling. It smells more mysterious and maybe interesting to some people for that reason, but I think that overall the balance here is perfect, and this to me is kind of the gold standard in this category of fragrance. It just smells so good. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm sort of hyping this up a little bit. Maybe some people will say that this is kind of, it's just an average smelling scent. But to me, the little things that are going on here are really, really good. And I just want to highlight one comment I read on Fragrantica, because I think it just captures how I feel about the scent, what I think the scent is like really well, and it might be helpful to know. Okay, so here's a comment by a writer named Iris, and it's a part of his post, but here we go. So quote, the pale moon on the label says it right. Although having enough substance, Endymion surrounds you with its pale bluish light. Very romantic and also very platonic. No teeth shown at any point. I almost cried the first time I smell it. Now that I have it, every time after the initial blast of out of this world beauty comes the so what moment, and then I no longer pay attention. I guess that's the point. As others already said, boringly perfect. I think that's very well written and captures really what's going on in this fragrance. It really kind of matters how you see it, right? It could be a very, very romantic, such a perfect scent, and but at the same time, scents like this that are so, pleasing, that are so balanced, right? And kind of do a little bit of everything. Some people say are boring, because it's not really at one end of the spectrum in terms of, the genre or the smell. They say, oh, it reminds me of this or that. But I think that, this is the overall composition is unique and it's very good. So anyway, guys, that's my opinion on Endymion. Absolutely recommend. For me, a 10 out of 10 smell-wise, performance lacking, but still worth it because it just smells so nice.